Please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bob. The next matter on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Ross. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Now we have the approval of the order of the agenda, and Commissioner Ross has a couple of additions.
Chairman Folk, I would like to add juvenile detention and planning and zoning right after 7A. So it would be between 8 and 7.
So we have a motion to add juvenile detention and planning and zoning right after the Grand Sky project. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Peach. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those two departments are added. Then we have the approval of the consent agenda. Motion by Commissioner Engen to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Commissioner Peach. I should have asked, did anybody want anything pulled before we did this? Noting nothing is wanted to be pulled from the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is passed. Now we move to the award of sale of limited tax capital project fund bonds.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, we have Ann Willett on the Zoom call from Public Financial Management, and she will explain the results of this sale today.
All right, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ann Willett. I have worked with the county for quite a few years as municipal advisor. And as you all know, we conducted the bond sale this morning. We received 8 bids and really good market rate bids. It's always a good thing to see the bids as they come in and that they're all really close to one another. It always gives us reassurance that they're competitive market rate bids. Now,
Chairman,
a little bit different on this bond.
One moment, one second.
Oh, sure.
on your desk,
Okay.
about the results of the sale and some other information along with the resolution.
Okay, sorry for interrupting you. We were just told that we have a packet with some of that information in front of us, which I think
Oh, no problem. What I'm looking at right now is the results of sale. So that just is a tally of the bids that were received this morning. B of A Securities was the winning bidder. And what was interesting about this bond sale is because of an interpretation of Century Code, we had to kind of artificially, normally in today's market, we might have received a bigger bond premium. But with this new interpretation, or I should say, changed interpretation of Century Code, any premium over costs of bond issuance has to be transferred to the debt service fund. So we weren't 100% sure how bids would come in with kind of these parameters that we had to put on these bonds, but we're really happy with the way that they came out. Obviously, we're all aware that interest rates have gone up quite a bit this year, but we're still really happy with how many bids we received. And there was a piece of really great news in this whole process. The county's credit rating was upgraded by Moody's. So definitely props to the financial management of the county, and that Moody's recognized that you're very well managed and that you deserved an upgrade in the credit rating. So the new credit rating is a AA1, which is just one notch below AAA. AAA is obviously the highest rating that can be received. So congratulations, that's always great news. And as we move forward in years to come, It always helps you get a little bit better interest rate when your credit rating is higher. So I think I will just move on to the final schedules. So the final schedules will show, the first page shows sources and uses. So you'll see the par amount is 32,765,000. We structured these bonds around 7 mils. So the annual debt service, the repayment is takes about 7 mils of your revenue in the capital projects fund. So based on the way that the bids came in, there was a small premium that was bid, and we were able to take the costs out of that. And then there's a small transfer into the debt service fund that was over and above the cost for the bond issuance. So page 2 on the final schedules will just show what the annual payment schedule is like. And of course, these are 20-year bonds, and you'll see on the very right-hand side that the repayment is 7 mils annually. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? No? You can continue if you wish, or
So that's about all the information that I had. Now the resolution would be that you have in front of you is basically to award the bonds to the low bidder, which was B of A Securities. So we can proceed with that.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, we need a motion to approve the resolution that I have passed out is on your desk. I did scan in a copy of this resolution for the sale of the bond, so now we have the detailed information in here. So I need a motion to approve the resolution authorizing and establishing the terms of the tax capital project fund bond series 2022, creating a single fund therefore and pledging taxes for their payment.
Chair, I would make that motion.
okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Ross. Okay, second by Commissioner Peach. Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Yep.
Okay, so we got this. Thank you very much for appearing today
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
and for all your help.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we can move on to the Grand Sky project.
Mr. Chair, I
Good
believe.
afternoon, Commissioners.
Please.
Very good.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. Go ahead, Brad.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Brad Durkin with Grand Sky Development Company. We bid out 2 projects recently, both of which were publicly advertised in the Grand Forks Herald for 4 weeks, starting September 14th through October 5th. We received 4 bids for each project. And we have done an evaluation of those 4 bids, and R.J. Zavarol and Sons was low for both projects. The first 2 bid numbers on each project were within $20,000 to $30,000, so they were very tight. The next 2 were a little bit higher, but the first 2 bid numbers for each project were very close in this particular case. So we're very comfortable with the numbers that we received. There is adequate budget in the 2021 state allocated funds to accomplish these 2 projects. And I am requesting that the commissioners review and approve the project so that I can make an award. Any questions?
we're just taking a look at it right now, Brad, on the screen, so. It looks like it's mostly asphalt overlay type projects, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I can explain the projects. The drone operations, I beg your pardon?
That would help.
Okay, the drone operations pad is an extension off of Lady Hawk Road back to about an acre asphalt pad, which eventually will put other things around that pad, but it's specifically to bring in mainly smaller UAS vehicles to do test and evaluation and provide space away from everything else at the site for people to come in and use for testing out different scenarios associated with the smaller drones. The taxiway and apron and taxiway shoulder repair is the continuation of our concrete apron repair program that we've been doing over the last 6 years. This pretty much will finish up one cycle of repairs over the whole 20+ acres of concrete, as well as removing and replacing a good portion of the asphalt taxiway shoulder from the apron up to the what we call the Great Gate, which is the line between the Air Force and Grand Sky. So to answer your question, Commissioner Falk, yes, most of this is all asphalt, roads, taxiway, and concrete repair work. We do have some minor utilities that we're going to run on the drone pad or out to the drone pad work from Lady Hawk, so that as we continue to develop that area with facilities in the future, we'll have water, sewer, and electric out there. And that pretty much summarizes the two projects.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Durkin? Mr. Egan? Yes, that's fine.
Move approval of the RJ Zavel and Sons bids on two projects, one for the taxiway apron, taxiway shoulder repair and construction project, $1,447,308.70, and also the drone operations pad construction project, $1,082,915.30.
1 second. Do we need chair's signature on this? We don't have yet. They're not here yet.
No, you don't.
Okay. Just checking on, we need chair signature, and they're not, we don't have the documents here yet. So second, we have a motion by Commissioner Egan, we have a second by Commissioner Ross. Any further discussion on the Grand Sky matter? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Grand Sky bids are approved. Okay. Next, we have juvenile detention. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a great afternoon.
Chairman Falk and members of the commission, I'm here this afternoon. Before you, there will be a grant that I had written, and I'm sorry that I couldn't get it to you before today. This was just kind of a last minute thing yesterday at one of our meetings. I talked with Tom. This grant is a startup grant that came through the North Dakota Department of Human Services for shelter care. And if you remember back to last August when Melanie Heitkamp came before the commission and could not run the program because of the changes that came forth for shelter care with egress windows, our center did not have egress windows to provide the area going forward from August 1st into this year. So I contacted the state and I had our area looked at to determine if there was a possibility that we could put in a couple egress windows. And this grant affords us the opportunity to do just that. We've looked at it. I've met with the historic committee. I met with Tom, and we went forward. This grant would allow us to make the necessary changes. And if you look at page 3 of this grant, there's a proposed budget. There's a lot of costs that I'm unaware of that will come through. What they told me just to put guesstimates down. This grant is not approved yet. I still have to send it in. But why I'm here today is that this grant is effective through June 30th of 2023. So the money has to be expended. And as we complete projects over there, they will reimburse us for the costs that we incur. What happens after that, July 1st, for the remainder of the year is we would pick up the costs. But right now, there is no shelter care area in this whole Northeast Judicial District. And it affords us the opportunity going forward with the new building that we have planned in the future to bring in all children in each phase, whether it be shelter care, attendant care, or the delinquents. And there's a possibility of making it over in excess of $800,000 with just this group of population, because it's a need. I don't know what else to say, but if you look at the grant and look at the budget, we propose that much for the application process. And then we will have to do some internal promotions within the center with pay increases with a new position. I'm not sure if it will be full-time. I met with Michelle and we discussed like possibilities because there's a lot of unknowns right now. But I didn't want to, pull the rug and say, July 1st, this cost is ours. But before that time, we'll be able to, once the windows are in and we can bring that, the shelter care kids in, the revenues will start rolling in. And they might not be $800,000 for 2023, but projected for the future, that revenue will be there. I put down administrative costs, what I thought we would have to have, beds, furniture, cleaning supplies. I was told to request the full 150, although I calculated about 120. And that would offset anything that comes in that would be unknown. And it might be, $60,000 or $75,000, I'm not sure.
Any questions of Ms. Hanson?
Mr. Chairman, and you said it's a reimbursement grant, right?
It's a reimbursement grant, right?
Be reimbursed.
Right.
We're calling for 150. Anything that we don't spend, we would send back.
No, as
We
the,
wouldn't get.
we wouldn't get, like if, let's say the building project came in at 25,000 and a contractor came in and did it for 25,000. We would have to pay that, they would reimburse us. Yeah.
And our problem over there is that if you envision in your mind the front of that old jail across from the police department, the two windows on the far right side have to be remodeled, so we'd have to take the
Granite, there's granite on the outside.
granite off,
yeah.
and those windows have to be lowered. The Historical Society didn't really like that, but
Yeah.
for safety purposes, to be able, for kids to be able to get out, they have to be lowered, so.
The city code is, with egress windows have to be 40 inches from the ground. And that's where we just come in within like 6 inches of where the granite blocks would be. But that granite would have to be removed, and they want them saved going into the future for a possibility of the next building that might be raised in that location or for something else that the county might use. But, that would be a cost that would be incurred also in this building project, is to move those two, granite panels.
And I did talk, just so the commission knows, I did talk to a representative from the Historical Society and told that person that in all likelihood that building is going to be raised. We're getting a bid as part of our building process, but be raised in the next probably 2 to 3 years. So, and so they're aware of that also.
And when we talked with Human Services, last year they had 120 cases where they had no place out in the outlying areas, so they had no place to put kids. And some of them are sitting in hotels, emergency foster care homes, path homes. We could have taken one today, but we're not certified. So it's something that we're looking at in the future, so that when the new facility is built and we have an assessment center, all law enforcement, social workers, whatever, can bring these kids in to be assessed to determine if they go into the shelter care site, and if they go into the attendant care site, or if they go into detention. And what this does right now, it allows us that leeway time to write the policies, write the procedures, jump through some of the loopholes, and educate ourselves to provide that program for a need that is not being met right now in Grand Forks County. And the whole Northeast Judicial District, that's why there's an included in the map. Tracy Van Beek sent me this map just this morning, but you'll see Northern Valley, which it's Cavalier, Pembina, Walsh, Ramsey, Towner, Rolette, Benson, Griggs, Agassiz Valley, which is Steele, Trail, all those counties need foster, or I'm sorry, shelter care. There's kids that are being picked up and there's no place for them. And these are not offenders. These are kids that are in situations that they have no control over and they need to be taken care of. I know that when Youth Works ran the program, they looked last March, April, May at finding a home or finding a place that they could bring these children into, like a safe house, and they couldn't find anything under $5,000 a month, and they, were projecting coming to the county to ask for funds. And we incorporated that group into our future building because it's happening right now, and it's a process that needs to happen. And I know that even with those 2 egress windows, we're building in 2 separate private bedrooms that will be apart from the attendant care site, because we do have the space over there. I kind of thought, here we did a grant and then we're going to take the building down, but the new building might not be built for 2 years. So in that process, if we can get those windows in, we can meet the need as soon as possible.
Probably more like 3 before we're
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
And the state is aware of.
They are aware.
Some of
They
this
are.
money
Yeah.
that they're spending, we're gonna probably knock that building down, but
Right.
there's such a need for this program
is.
that they're encouraging us to.
They
move
are.
As quickly as possible to
Mhm.
solve the problem.
I've had people come and, look at the place and, look at the floor plan, and what we envisioned was moving a day room area over, moving our couches over and building in 2 temporary walls that would allow privacy for those kids that will be, in a soundproof area by themselves, but still being able to meet their needs and be observed so that, when they are there, their needs are being met.
Questions?
And right now, detention's, they're getting swamped with even the attendant care kids, and, so I need to meet with Michelle. We need to figure out, where this will go with the staffing. Because we do need to have a person that will take over that responsibility, because it's a lot, and for the building, and the bidding, and the policies and the procedures and things that will go. Robin will still oversee that, but that's its whole separate program in itself. So, and it will phase into the future. It's something that just needs to be done.
I have a question on that staff
Yeah.
person. Is that going to be an additional staff person, or is that gonna be a promotion from within?
We're hoping to do a promotion from within,
Okay.
but then if it's a promotion within, that person would have to be backfilled.
Yes,
I have a question. Do you need a signature from the commission
No.
or anything, just approval
Just
to
to
go
go ahead.
ahead?
Send this off, because it
Okay.
hasn't been approved yet. I just, threw these numbers together, and I've been dealing with Brittany Fody from the state, and she just said, whenever you get it, because I think it's Corey Peterson from Walsh County is part of the committee that's doing approvals. Is there anything else you want to say? I mean, it's just been, we will need another, staff person once that backfill, but we'll look at it and we'll address the commission as the need arises. But we have, any increase in pay can come out of that budget through June of next year.
Commissioner Peach wants to help you with your problem.
Yeah, well, Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the shelter care development startup grant so that the juvenile justice program can apply for this money.
Great, thank you. Do we have a second? Commissioner Knopf is seconding it. Any further comments on it? Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? You're good to go and apply. And thank both of you for all the work you've been doing.
And Robin has.
Yeah, we have Mr. Ross and Robin.
One more thing, I'm involved in the question. We took a vehicle from emergency management, the back end is falling off quite a bit, so we did get an estimate on it. It was $1,153.35. I think it suggested maybe getting that out of capital improvements to have that fixed.
Yeah, we need to straighten that out. So
I would make that motion, Chairman Falk, to approve that cost for repairing that end gate with the money to come out of capital improvements.
we have a second? Second by Commissioner Peach. Any other discussion on this? a good vehicle other than that?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah. Kari took good care of it.
Other than the end gate.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You're good to go on the end gate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we jump to finance and tax.
Planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning.
Oh, yeah, excuse me.
Chair, members of the commission, I have one item today. I handed out packet beforehand. It's a request for a plat application of Andrew Frelick for Frelick subdivision consisting of 2 lots of 19.3 acres in section 4 of Americus Township. It currently is a 19.3 acre parcel of land. It's located at the intersection of County Road 81 and Fifth Avenue Northeast. City of Thompson is located 2 miles to the northeast. For reference, property currently has 1 home on it that is under construction. Otherwise, surrounding uses consist of agricultural lands and rural residences. In our land use plan, it's an agricultural area, and subdivision does conform to the goals and policies of the land use plan. Under the zoning ordinance, it's located in Americus Township, which administers its own zoning. For that, we would apply the A3 agricultural reserve zoning district standards for the subdivision, and then rely on township recommendation to address any zoning issues. As far as the background, the applicant's proposing to split off an additional lot for another dwelling. Both lots utilize existing access to Fifth Avenue Northeast, which is Township Road. Americus Township did recommend approval of the request. As you can see on the plat drawing, there's a significant amount of floodplain on the property. Lot 1 has enough land out of the floodplain, however, Lot 2 is almost completely inundated. The applicant is proposing to fill a portion of Lot 2, which would take it out of the floodplain. Attached is also a conditional letter of map revision based on fill, or a Lomar F, that has been approved by FEMA. The applicant would have to obtain a full Lomar F approval from FEMA and a floodplain development permit from the township prior to the township issuing a building permit for Lot 2. With that, staff would recommend the applicant provide evidence of that final approval for the Lomar F and the approval for the floodplain development permit prior to the Mylar being signed off by the county staff. At Grand Forks County Commission recommended approval at their October 11th meeting. The only other issue that was discovered since that meeting was that on the plat, it only shows 50 feet of right of way along County Road 81. Staff would recommend that there be a condition on the plat also to increase that to 75 feet to be consistent with what we require for every other plat. With that, I would recommend approval with the following condition: that the applicant provide evidence of an approved Lomar F and floodplain development permit prior to the Mylar being signed off by county staff, and that the road easement along County Road 81 be increased from 50 feet to 75 feet. With that, I would be happy to answer questions.
Any questions from members of the commission? You know, I remember from our meeting, there were a couple that were at the meeting. How far away is their property? Do you know?
The gentleman owned farmland, I believe, a half mile downstream, and I was never able to determine where. I think her name was Denise Gallagher.
Okay.
Was where she was.
Any other questions?
Did those folks pose any objection at that meeting?
Oh, they were worried about them building the lot up, and if there was going to be an impact on their property. And I explained to them that that's the purpose of the floodplain development permit, that the township, who is the floodplain administrator in this case, which is kind of unique, but they are responsible to determine that it's not going to have a negative impact on neighboring properties.
Hey, just for additional information, there was a surveyor there representing the party here requesting this, and we indicated that, you know, building up a property like that, the entire property above the floodplain would be pretty much cost prohibitive, if I remember him.
Right, yeah, we only require an acre of buildable land per lot. And yeah, there's no reason why they go any more than that. I'm sure they'll go a couple more feet on the building pad itself, but they're not gonna bring in a bunch of extra fill to cost them.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval of the prices and setting the property for sale on November 15th. And,
No, this is.
Planning and zoning.
oh, shoot.
Still in lane.
Wrong lane, okay, I would move approval of the information that Lane just provided us. I'm sorry.
Move approval of the plat application of Andrew Fraley with the two conditions involving the low MRF and floodplain being approved, and the increasing right away from 50 feet to 75 feet. Is that fair?
Yes,
Okay,
I apologize.
no, that's fine. I started it all when I tried to move her ahead of Mr. Magnuson. So, I started the confusion. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Second by Commissioner Egan. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That is approved. Thank you. Okay, now we can.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this is a hearing for objections to the minimum sale price that we set on our tax acquired properties. Any member or representative of the governing body of any taxing district may appear at the hearing with reference to the fair market value of the appraised property. We have heard from Larimore. They did add $800.86 to the property located in Larimore. But if there's anybody else, we could be heard at this time.
Just for clarification, that was the city of Larimore added that.
That is right. That is correct.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard on this?
If not, I would recommend the board approve the prices and set the property sale for November 15th, 2022 at 2 p.m. in the county commission room in the county office building. Terms of the sale are cash or check only.
Commissioner Ross.
Mr. Chair, I would make that motion.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Commissioner Ross has made the motion. Commissioner Peach, would you like to second?
I would love to second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on these matters? Hearing none. And that motion includes the addition of the $800.86 on the Larimore property, correct, Commissioner Ross?
Correct.
Okay, hearing no other comments on this, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, then I would need approval of the notice of intent to evict. I believe there's 7.
Yes, Commissioner.
Question when you're ready.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
The, when did we take title? Last year?
No, we took title October 1st.
October first. Are we sure that the timing of this notice of eviction is appropriate? The state's attorney look at it?
Commissioner Engen, members of the commission, I did review these and have no legal concerns.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions on the notices of intent to evict? Motion to proceed. A motion by Commissioner Engel to proceed with the 6 notices of intent to evict.
Second that motion.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Is that all from you?
That is it. Thank you.
We have public health, but I don't.
Yep.
Staring right at you. I'm always looking for Miss Swanson.
I'm sure. Yes,
We only have a short period of time left with her, so.
yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Paul, fellow members of the commission. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Kate Goldaddy with Grand Forks Public Health. I'm the family team leader and I work with the school nurses that are employed at all schools. And I appreciate the chance today to talk to you, to update you with some activity reports and what we've been doing out at the schools. As a little bit of a review, through your report, we employ 2 nurses that are employed at Larimore School District, Manville, Midway, and Amarillo. Thompson and Northwood also have employed their own individual school nurses. So speaking specifically to ours, just as kind of key highlights of what we are supporting out at the schools, would include on-site support from the nurses, on average of 2 days in each of those districts. Rapid assessments for the students as they come in, illnesses, injuries, of course. Providing curriculum as accepting or as requested by the school and staff. Being a resource, kind of subject matter experts for immunizations and record reviews, and providing information, of course, for community guidelines as it is for COVID response. And some of those key duties, on top of those key duties mentioned, I'd just like to bring some highlights from summer and then moving into the fall. We're able to provide some on-site school coverage to Manville. They have 2 sessions with the migrant school as well as their general session. And then also at Midway. We did have some turnover of our staff. If you can see on the PowerPoint here actually is a picture of 2 of our nurses the last spring, and they were presenting a puberty talk at Midway. One of the positions, one of our nurses did choose to shift and transition to another position of program area within Grand Forks Public Health, which then left that position at Larimore and Amarillo idle over the summer, and the funding was sat idle, was not spent down. We're able to hire and find a wonderful candidate. She started then on September 6th and is supporting again Larimore and Amarillo schools. So beyond that, with the curriculum they were able to present this summer, stepping back a little bit, about 6 presentations, speaking to summer safety, hydration status, also for dental and personal hygiene, those are the topic areas that we were able to support. And also give some depth to Grand Forks Public Health with the program areas as we were and reinvigorating some of our program areas that have been a little understaffed in the last couple of years. But with the fall, as I said, the new nurse that we've hired on, as well as the restart of classes, brought new opportunities. At this point, been able to assist with over 155 record reviews from students being aware of that status. And then as well as 16 office visits for, again, injuries, illnesses, and birth. And they're also assisting to have on-site partner and coordinate with on-site clinics or immunizations for people with COVID boosters as a kept in school. And of course, planning into the fall here for further curriculum supporting as requested. Really getting acclimated with the student population as that turns over each year and what the needs are for each school. And if I can, additional support that we had offered, I alluded to Amber, who was our staff that stayed on through the summer then, was able to help with some program areas that really complemented her skill set and also gave her further opportunity to build her knowledge base. And so she was able to help with health tracks, which is again early childhood screening, the immunization program, And then assisted with Head Start screenings actually here in Grand Forks, which is a relationship we've had in previous years, which is very helpful. So looking ahead into the late fall and then the next quarter, the second quarter at schools, we're looking at supporting preschool, pre-K screening at 2 of the schools, Amarillo and Midway. Further curriculum presentations, the nurses have taken opportunities for mental health first aid training for youth specifically, as well as meeting with the tobacco team at Grand Forks Public Health to look into some resources and how they can support and offer resource for vaping cessation. And other strategies really working to just support the physical and the emotional and wellness health for all the students that are out there, so we can keep the students healthy in the classroom learning. And the administrators, if I can add, the administrators and school staff express their gratitude and appreciation for those school nurses and physicians, so we're happy to provide that through public health. And with that, I can take any questions if you have any.
Question from Commissioner Eby.
I noticed that there's 2 other schools that we've had your own school nurses, Thompson and Northwood. Do you provide this same material to them, or do they do their own program?
From my understanding, they have their own programs. We do offer ongoing updates through COVID response as those recommendations have changed. We do provide that contacts, but they do have their own curriculum and really their own structure. Because I think it's under a different format, like the Venus Health Center at Northwood, and then Thompson employees. Thank you.
Any other questions? I guess I've just, it's a general question or thought. We are covering this with the ARPA funds right now. So I'm not sure how long, at some point those funds are going to run out for nurses, and that's unfortunate for the schools, but is there some talk or discussion with them being able to take over these programs once those funds run out, or are they looking into the future at that?
Yes, Commissioner Falk, thank you for your question. From what I know, right now, yes, the funding does sunset. At this time, the contract is going through the end of June of next year. There's nothing certain in place that I'm aware of. We're looking for other grant opportunities if something could sustain it further, and also bringing those nurses in with some of the other programming areas to kind of build that depth, and perhaps it's something, whether there would be opportunity that would open with public health, or we can kind of cross utilize those nurses and still support the schools, but certainly nothing certain that I'm aware of at this point.
Yes, Commissioner.
Question, do you know if there's anything being discussed through public health districts across the state concerning 2023 legislation with our state legislature?
Yes, Commissioner Feach, thank you for your question. From what I know, it has been building some momentum for a discussion at the state level for legislation. From what I am aware, it's not a direct city legislation priority at this time that we're supporting, but certainly is a more informal support. And from understanding, there is national support as well to see if there could be some push and support funding.
And obviously, with the consolidation of Health and Human Services, DHHS, that would really be a strong component for both the physical and mental health of the students in our school districts.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Anybody else? That's it. Thank you very much for the information.
Yeah, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Mr. West.
Afternoon. Chairman Polk, members of the board. Requests for the board to consider. The first one would be our agreement with FEMA and Department of Emergency Services for the spring flood. DR designated number DR 4660. Agreement between us and FEMA, so we can get approximately $2 million worth of road repair work. A lot of it's already done, some of it is to be done yet, but believe the agreement has been reviewed by our state's attorney. And she's our guest, yeah. Never want to speak for her, of course. But so she is okay with that, and I would stand for any questions and ask for signature. Well, it says primary agent and alternate agent. So I think typically that would have been the chair and Ms. Nelson. I remember correctly. Well, there's a sub-grant E form, which I think I would sign. I should have clarified that before it comes down here. It's primary agent myself and alternate Jana.
Chairman, welcome Debbie.
They have to be,
Those who write them, right, so check, you don't have to worry about it.
yeah. They have to be listed as the sub-grant.
Usually in a federal grant, the authorizing official would be the chair. And then Ms. Nelson is the auditor, and then you, as the engineer, would be the delegated authority to do the POC day-to-day type administrative work.
In the past, I know for sure we've had the chair sign.
Yeah. I think we can start out that way if they have problems.
Should have looked at the previous ones. So,
Any questions of Mr. West on this? Okay, can we have a motion to approve? I guess is it a request, Mr. West, for the public assistance subgrant agreement or approval of that agreement?
Covered. I would make a motion to approve the NDVESDR 4660 sub-grant agreement and cover letter with the chair's signature and the auditor's signature.
So we have a motion.
I'll second that
There's a
motion.
second from Commissioner Peach. Do we have any other discussion on this? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're good to go on that, Mr. West.
thank you very much. The last item would be motor grader lease. The lease itself was approved by the board a year ago when we got the bids for the motor graders and had the terms of the condition. A little bit of a change up this year where typically our financing would be through John Deere corporate. However, there was an issue there, so RDO got a different financing company to finance our motor graders, and actually the lease payment's slightly cheaper. And that's okay. But that other financing company was asking for chairman's signature and tax and finance director signature. The terms of the lease, when I review it, meet the proposal requirements we had laid out. Financials look good to me. And I would request approval and signature of that agreement as well. And we do have the motor graders.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval.
So we have a motion to approve the lease agreement for the motor graders with a small change in the amount, which is favorable to us. Is there a second?
I'll second it, and note that there's two places for signatures, one on exhibit D and one on certificate of incumbency, by both chair and.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and that would include signatures by the chair and the auditor on there also. Or- Did you say it was just me? Just
No.
the auditor also?
So there's two signatures.
All right. Signature line for the chair and the auditor. So all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed.
That's all that I have.
Check.
Bring it up here.
I know it was,
You want to pick it up tomorrow?
I picked it up right away in the morning. Kind of said it was printed. Already was been patiently waiting.
Right. But I was never told to bring it back up.
No, I suppose you were. I'm sorry about that. What time here?
I'm gonna need a call.
Okay, I'll be there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we were through with Mr. West. We have Mr. Ford next, Director of Administration.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I'm just going to follow up on an email I had sent out to the commission on October 11th. It was an update from Jay Clevin, AE2S, on the parking ramp study. He couldn't be here today. He's planning to finish up the amended study. If you recall, the commission asked him to look into feasibility of demolishing the parking ramp and looking at flat surface parking, excuse me. You know, in a nutshell, AE2S would not be recommending the county move forward with flat surface parking. Referring to that email I sent, you're looking at, and it's all said and done, almost $3.3 million for 250 spaces, or move with putting in the necessary identified repairs for the parking ramp at 2.4 million in the next 3 years, which would keep 330 parking spots, and we would not have to buy a property. So essentially, that's the feasibility of it. It's quite a bit more expensive to go with flat surface parking. I'll ask Mr. Clevin to attend the next commission meeting, but wanted to know if there was any questions of me pertaining to that issue of the parking ramp.
So we don't need to take any action today, just.
No. And one of the problems too, and I was asking Mr. Ford questions with Mr. Clevin also, but you know, we have to think 20 years down the road too, where county, you know, our city and county should be 90,000 instead of 70,000 people. We're going to need more parking down here. So we have to sort of anticipate growth, and this would really put a real problem in it. I know the city was also concerned that we'd be eliminating or cutting back parking spots downtown, which is I just heard from someone who I'm married to how there was parking problems downtown here today. So anyway, so we'll listen to when Mr. Clevin comes in and talks. But it wasn't the news that we were hoping for.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Ford, any other good news?
That's all I have.
Thank you. State's Attorney.
I have none.
Oh boy. Okay, we're down to committee reports. Mr. Ross, how about you?
Okay, I had a fair board meeting last week. They talked about things that are up and coming for the fair next year. They approved some groups to come in and entertain during the fair. I am not a voting member of the fair board anymore, so tomorrow is the MPO meeting, which they're always exciting. And I'm sure the topic is going to be the bridges will come up, and probably projects in 23 and 24 for North Dakota and Minnesota. So, and just been attending home rule meetings. I had one in Larimore, And we get some good questions. It'd be nice if there was more people attending, but, it pays off.
Commissioner Hand.
That's a couple things, attended a dinner, first a combined meeting with the city and county concerning the air base and our consultants, all three generals, the city's consultant and two of the county were there. And then a dinner after that. And EDC board was the same week. And then I was out of commission for a week, so that's all I've done. I have a question though about the documents that are, these tax returns at the end, are they old business or why were they,
They're all part of his,
were they part of the, it doesn't, you didn't need approval for chair to sign the returns?
that was all part of it, wasn't it?
That's part of the lease, that's part of the
That
FEMA
was
grant,
part of the lease.
or the lease, excuse me, it's part of the lease.
Good catch on your part. Commissioner Nom, you're next.
I don't really have anything, fair board, or not fair board, but library meeting tomorrow, and that's about all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Pete.
Attended a zone board meeting prior to this meeting. Lots of information was shared by Mr. Pickett. We have 173 open cases that are being cared for by 8 CPS workers. He is looking at asking for 2 additional workers from the state. We have 218 foster care cases happening right now. And so that's risen a little bit, going the wrong direction. There are some issues with about 8 staff that are leaving county socials or the zone board staff. And some of it has to do with compensation and the stress, the additional stress that is taking place. Lou Ellen Hart, the supervisor, she presented today, and she just talked about how behind we are because staff are leaving. I believe 1 week, 3 staff left that week. And so when there's a 30-day to complete a case in 30 days, some days staff are not getting to that until the 30th day. And then it's going to take 15 more days to get the documentation that they need. So there were some concerns about that. There is a new system. What was that?
They've now put all their programs in one software system.
Yes, and there was some staff that were leaving because of their concerns of learning the new system. This is not coming from the federal government. This is coming from the state, from DHS. Jonelle Baki is on that committee on the zone board as well. A lot of concerns with things that are not legislated with the zone board, and the fact that DHS maybe has not really gone through their administrative rule. They're kind of caught in the middle. She's talking a lot, Jonelle was talking a lot about 5 and 5, at least a 5% COLA for state employees and a 5% COLA for county employees. That's what's being legislated or discussed at this point for next year. And the zone board isn't in any of that discussion because they're not part of the state. They're county employees, those that haven't gone to the state, and they're not part of the county that we can really say that this is what their COLA is going to be. So they're kind of caught in the middle. We had a lengthy discussion about having some discussions with state staff and legislators who are head of that, and asking them as the Grand Forks Zone Board to come and let's talk about this, because it doesn't seem like there's any resolution taking place. And so we're going to have an ad hoc committee that's going to meet for about 90 minutes to talk about 5 points. And it's not to go after DHHS, it's just to make them aware of the concerns. One of the biggest issues that Mr. Pickett talked about was he had received a handwritten letter from a client who is on SNAP. she gets assistance in purchasing foods. And she had a cart of groceries at a retail store, and she went to purchase these foods for her family, and she had 62 cents in her cart. She had not, they had not processed her application. Her funding hadn't gone into her SNAP EBT card. And so there she was with a cartload of groceries for her family that she couldn't pay for. And so that's kind of the concerns that we have, is that all of this delay that's happening because people are leaving for one reason or another. And then once they're gone, the remaining staff are getting a lot of pressure to get their work done, plus somebody else's work done that's not there. And it's affecting our citizens. And so we feel that we really need to approach both the legislature and DHHS to say, here's what's going on, and we can't keep digging trenches. Before, in previous years, I believe they were always able to ask who wants to work overtime, get time and a half, you know. That used to not, Lou Ellen said that used to not be a problem. There were plenty of people who would say, yes, I'll work overtime. I like the extra funding for whatever. And she said priorities have changed since COVID. Lots of people have realized they want to spend time with their family. They don't need to have more money to purchase assets. And there's one staff person, she said, that is a single adult and she doesn't have children in the household. And she's always willing to put time on to the additional work that's necessary. But many are not and do not. And he's even considering at this point some mandatory overtime so that these cases get processed. It's a tough call, and I believe from our discussion, this is happening statewide. This is not just our county. And we had a long discussion about this. So just so you know that there's going to be an ad hoc committee, we're gonna, you know, look at the new system and say some things are good, but some things aren't, and they need to be addressed. And we'll talk about 5 to 7 primary points that we'll be talking about. So just so you know that we are in the process of asking head staff from DHHS to meet with us, as well as the 2 senators who oversee that committee. And these senators are aware, Senator Lee and Kathy Hogan, they are both aware that they've been kind of dropped the ball, or this zone board zone work isn't quite working. And he did make a comment that actually the Grand Forks County zone is probably one of the stronger ones in the state. There are a lot of other zones that are having far more problems. And so things have to be addressed, and we need to clean this up because people's lives are literally being impacted. So I just wanted to let you know that. I have a regional Red River Council regional board meeting tomorrow online, and then on Thursday, a public health meeting. With public health, we did have a special meeting where we're dealing with a client who needs to clean up his yard, and he's having difficulty making that a priority. When I did leave our recent commission meeting, he caught me in the lobby, and we had quite a discussion. And I continue to say, you have concerns about this, that, and the other thing going on in the neighborhood, but your priority is cleaning up your property. And if you don't clean up your property, you're going to lose it. And I said, this is serious. This has to be your main concern. And so Public Health Board has got some issues to deal with, and it's not easy, but we're working on it. And hopefully if he's here again today, I will continue to say your priority is this, not about drugs and who's trying to vandalize your property and things like that. So definitely some mental health issues. that we deal with when we're trying to work with clients that, or work with community members that can't clean up their property. And it's becoming a problem and a hazard to citizens that live close to them with infestation, varmint infestation and things like that. So that's my report. Any questions?
Well, just a comment, yeah, I remember when this all got started, we'll go back to the zone board, when this all got started. There were, the board was being created, we didn't even have the rules set up, and
Yeah.
this was really kind of a rush by the legislature. It probably should have been put off a couple of years, so I'm not surprised. I don't think any of us are surprised that there were problems.
I worked in that system prior to zones.
Right.
And this is just more of the same.
Yeah,
And this was so
probably worse,
frustrating.
actually, I think,
Well, this is worse than it was, but
more chaotic.
they had a lot of issues. right?
And it's very frustrating because one of the things Antoine sits on the director committee, and they inform him that when they're short of staff for what the state is doing, they've hired extra staff. And I brought up that number one, Grand Forks County Commission was not in support of this. And number two, the legislature and DHS, HHS continue to state that this is going to save money. We at the state don't need all these staff that you have at the county levels. And the stronger or the larger counties were not in support. Some of the smaller counties were in support because that was their largest expenditure, was social services, and they wanted the state to take it on to help out their budgets. Unfortunately, I don't think that's been the case, and relationship building with some of the rural counties has not been successful. So there is discussion in the next legislative session that some counties may be leaving the zone they're currently in and want to move into another zone. And he did refer to two counties that are closer to Grand Forks County that are not having a good experience with the zone they're in. And there will be some particular counties wanting to move from one zone to another. So we'll see how this ad hoc committee goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of things on mine. Commissioner Ingen already alluded to the fact that the consultants, the 2 3-star generals were here. Actually, the city's general was here also. They met with Rick, UND, the city, and Commissioner Ingen and I met with them. So it was, they provided substantial information. I guess what I would like to bring out is that their trip was all covered by Gracie Lean from the Mr. Ford's department. She set up their schedule, itinerary, just about everything else for them. And that was, I think, the first you personally met with them.
Yeah.
So the 3-star generals retired are pretty hard to be impressed, but they were very impressed by Miss Lean, so that was great to hear. So don't let that go to your head, but they did like it. They liked all of her work a lot. So
And they just happy that it was a switch from Mr. Ford to Greg.
yeah, I didn't want to talk her up too much for they didn't want to steal her. So
So what came from that meeting?
well, what would you say, Mr. Ford?
It was a series of meetings with the university leadership that really focused around the national defense research that the university is trying to get into, and they're making strides with that. So then the next was we went to dinner, as Commissioner Ingen mentioned. That was just social. The next day was the meat of the meetings. It was General Atomics, Northrop Grumman, the Bantis system, and BRIC meeting. So BRIC was really them discussing some of the work they've been doing, where the community started with them, and where the opportunities are going forward for the community when it comes to basic vision, Grand Sky. And then it was really getting a briefing from General Atomics leadership, getting a briefing from Northrop Grumman leadership, so that when if you recall, Commissioner Ingen, Ms. Leon and myself were supposed to be at Langley Air Force Base right now. That got delayed due to a number of reasons. So that they were coming here really to get briefed on everything before we went out to Langley Air Force Base, which has been postponed. So the meetings were very good. From everything I gathered, plenty of good information, plenty of work to keep going to the rest of the year. But it was positive as usual.
And they liked hearing all of the
Excuse me.
new projects that are coming out to Grand Sky right now. They were impressed with the companies and what the projects that are gonna go on out there. And so I think that was a nice step forward by the county.
So there were no concerns with the base as far as losing the base, reducing their mission. There was no concerns with Grand Sky, either that we might lose anybody there
Well,
or
actually-
that we might not get.
Actually, I talked to Mr. Sawyer and he is fine as far as his tenants. His tenants aren't leaving. He's talked to them. He's actually getting new tenants. So that's a positive for him. I think that both General and Rube, they have concerns. It's fair to say that if there is not, that the Air Force is, what are they right now? They're not in communication with either the county or the city right now. That's their choice. They don't get involved in either public or community or political disputes. And so they're willing to stay out of it. But they do have some concerns, and we're gonna probably have to talk about or address those down the road.
Mr. Chair, I'll say, I worked with the consultants almost 10 years. It took 4 years before I could call them Bill and Rusty, and within their first meeting with Ms. Leon, they're heaping praises on her, saying she can call them by their first names. So there you go.
The other thing I wanted to talk about just briefly is we had another detention center, correctional center construction meeting on Monday morning. Went on for almost 2 hours this time, but we're still talking design with the architects and the engineers and the kind of construction managers with Ms. Spain and Mr. Bissell, and changes are constantly being made. So there isn't a plan yet, but we're hoping by, it's 3 weeks out, maybe about 3 weeks out. 3 weeks out or so. We're hoping that they have more of a concrete plan as far as a imprint of where that building will be out there right now. And then they're hoping to start getting some construction costs or estimates on that, which will be very interesting. So more to come on that, but we're kind of we're bogged down a little bit on that, but we're pressing forward. And that's it for me. New business, unfinished business. Yeah, I think we set that, we were supposed to have a meeting, to talk about,
October 20th moved.
yeah, October 20th meeting to talk about Fang project, and we've moved that to November 10th. There was a problem. We couldn't have the space up here because of election issues. And so that's been moved to the 10th, and Ms. Nelson will notice that meeting out.
The time,
10 o'clock.
is it possible to have it any earlier?
Earlier in the day?
Yeah.
For you, but we can work that out.
Well, it would, we have to travel to
Well,
Rochester.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we could do that earlier and get you out of here.
Yeah, 8 or 9 would be
Yeah,
better.
how about, let's try to start at 8 o'clock. How's that?
That'd be great.
Does that work for everybody?
Great.
We'll
So
make it work
sorry.
for Mr. Pete.
Thank you.
Let's change, send that out. Thank you. Any other new business from the auditors? No? Correspondence? No correspondence. We're down to you, Commissioner Ross.
I would make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're out of here. Thank you, everyone.
So what if somebody opposed? No, we're not leaving.
Okay, let me.